Spooky Swamp is the sequel to First Frights, and it is also made by Taurus Games. And like First Frights, the opening to Spooky Swamp is really, really good. This time you see a stew being made, and then we follow a scent trail, as in, like the smell as it moves through stuff. Anyway, we follow the smell to Mystery Inc.'s swamp-based headquarters. Here we see Shaggy leave in a huff, angry over his spilled food. Shag and Scoob catch a whiff of the stew cooking in the woods and take off after it. Now, there are really only 3 levels in this game. The swamp, which is broken up into a framing device around the other 2 levels. One of those levels is called El Muncho, a Mexican ghost town, and the other is called Howling Peaks, which is a mountain ski resort. This game is less platforming oriented and more puzzle and adventure oriented. There's still the brawling combat, but this feels far more like an adventure game than First Frights ever did. You do still jump around, but it's no longer emphasized as the primary game mechanic, so much so that the double jump has been removed from the game. Most of the gameplay mechanics have migrated over from First Frights into Spooky Swamp. This time, you can choose your character at will as opposed to the game choosing them for you. Additionally, the levels are no longer linear paths, but rather large open areas to explore. Puzzle solving plays a large role in this game, as does talking to other characters. All the levels have been designed to resemble actual places. The swamp looks like a swamp. The hotel on Howling Peak looks like a hotel. Muncho looks like a Mexican town. There's no giant toy factory to jump around in, or a river of lava to float down. Nothing outlandish like that. The game sort of falls more in line with the Game Boy Color game than any of the other Scooby-Doo games that are out there. It's like a point-and-click game, but you control a character on a screen and use them like the pointer, and also there's some combat to it. So Scooby and Shaggy find the source of the scent in the swamp. It is the stew, and it is being made by a swamp girl named Lilla. Now Lilla needs special ingredients for the stew, and when she gets them, Shaggy and Scooby can have some. Lilla tasks Shaggy and Scooby with going to El Muncho to retrieve the special ingredient. To aid them in their quest in El Muncho, Lilla gives them a camera to use. Lilla also doesn't want Shaggy and Scooby, for some reason, to tell the rest of the gang about her. Seems pretty suspicious, doesn't it? Additionally, there is something big lurking in the swamp. Incidentally, Lilla needs Scooby and Shaggy to go get these ingredients because she herself, for some reason, is not able to leave the swamp. Now this, for some reason, is not indicated at this point in the game as of yet, but it will be soon. Shaggy and Scooby don't know how they are going to convince the gang to go to El Muncho, but as soon as they get back, it turns out that Costington, the butler of Keystone Castle from the last game, has moved to El Muncho and has just invited Mystery Inc. to come for a visit. Strange timing, isn't it? So off the gang goes to El Muncho. When they arrive, they discover that the town has been deserted, and then they immediately are put in jail by the sheriff in the town. Why? Because
I know you're the ones causing all the trouble around here, and you call yourselves El Scariachi.
In the jail, the gang meets a man named Esteban, who informs the gang all about the sheriff.
You see, the sheriff, he is loco.
Like, you mean he's crazy?
Yeah, stupid. That's what loco means, Shaggy. Jesus. The gang escapes from the jail in a sort of ingenious way, and in a way that may possibly resemble a group of sleuths solving a mystery. Scoob and Shaggy escape from the jail. Then they record the sheriff talking in his sleep, which reveals that there's dynamite hidden at the bar. Shaggy and Scooby go to the bar for this mini game where they have to toss the right colored, things into the piano to open a door to the dynamite. They blow up the jail, and it's off to solve the mystery of El Scariachi, and the first stop is to visit Costington. You can play as every character now at will. Just pull up the character wheel and choose them. They all have different abilities, just like in First Frights. Freddy can move heavy items, Shaggy can use a grappling hook, Daphne climbs pipes, Scooby uses doggy doors, and Velma can access consoles, which lead to a Simon Says type minigame thing. In this game, you can also collect costume pieces and customize the look of your characters. But unlike First Frights, these added costumes provide no new abilities to the protagonists. You can find clues everywhere, and you can use the camera to take pictures of those clues, almost like real detectives. To use the camera, you just choose it in the menu and then point the Wiimote at the screen to move around your little camera targeting icon and then snap a photo. You can also collect masks in this game, which are dropped by enemies after you defeat them. Each mask represents the enemy that dropped them, and I assume if you collect enough of them, you unlock stuff. But I don't know because you have to collect hundreds of them, and I was like, nah, thanks bro, I'm good. There are also food ingredients to collect, and if you keep a keen eye out, you can find ghosts that you can snap a picture of. It's here that I also want to mention that the game includes a few movie references. If you turn the hands back on the clock in El Muncho, a text box opens and reads, "Great Scott, you turned back time." This of course is a reference to Back to the Future. In the Howling Peak level, the carpet from The Shining adorns the floor of the lodge, and if you take a photograph of a ghost while Freddy is one of your two playable characters, he, as voiced by Frank Welker, who also voiced Ray Stantz on the real Ghostbusters, says this wonderful gem of a line.
Ghostbusted!
Taurus Games, you make good games. Please make more games. El Muncho is an interesting level. First thing the gang does is make their way up to visit Costington, who has no idea why the gang is there. He doesn't even have a telephone.
So, what is this nonsense? I don't have a phone installed yet.
The gang asks him about what's going on in the town and El Scariachi, the ghost that has been terrifying the town. From Costington, the gang learns that the ghost plays a harmonica when he shows up, and it would seem that Costington himself is hiding something.
This place has been stalked by strange things ever since I found the... Oops, almost spilt the beans there.
The gang go into Costington's mansion to question the butler, Romero, but have to save him from some exploding bitches. Romero agrees to help the gang if they are able to get his instrument back from Costington, which Costington took and hid from him, which means searching the mansion and beating up more ghosts. Or at least I think they're ghosts. The main villains are criminals in disguise, but I have no real idea who the henchmen are, or what these enemies are, or how they play into the story as a whole. There's certainly a lot of them, and I do beat the crap out of all of them, but I have no idea what's going on here.
Here I am.
The gang finds Romero's instrument, which turns out to be a harmonica, and the plot thickens. This level is a lot of fun. There are many adventure type game things you do in it, or at least I think they're adventure game type things. For instance, you have to tail Romero through town without him seeing you. I like this. I like this a lot. I feel like I'm sleuthing around trying to solve a mystery. That's what many of the games I've reviewed this Halloween are missing. The idea that you're solving a mystery. Most just have you jumping around. El Muncho is a fun level. I really like the graphical style of the game. It has a very Sly Cooper vibe to it. The music is pretty great too. In El Muncho, it's all music that sounds like it comes from south of the border. It can be fun and peppy or somber. I dig it. At one point in the level, Shag and Scooby get into a cave where they find a cauldron and some scraps of paper. You have to put the pieces of paper together to form recipe instructions. You have to point the Wiimote at the screen, select the scrap of paper, and then turn the Wiimote to fit it into place. It's not the most clever way to use the Wiimote, but it's cool nonetheless. Fit all the pieces of scrap paper together, and Shag and Scoob learn that the ingredient they are looking for is trident peppers, which are up near the old church. Shag and Scoob go to the old church to get the peppers, and then bam! They get chased around by El Scariachi. It's similar to the chase sequences from First Frights, but longer. It's fun though.
Whoa, watch out, Scoop! You don't want to be a cactus man, because then you'd be a friend illegal!
At the end of the chase, Shag and Scoob find the sheriff's badge. Suspicious, I know. There's also the twins, Esteban and Emilio. Esteban you meet in the jail cell at the beginning of the level, and Emilio you meet later. You even help him try to break his brother out of jail. At the end of the level, you fight El Scariachi on a stage. It's a good fight. Nothing too difficult, but if I were like 11, I would probably have a fairly challenging time fighting this guy. Just before it's revealed who the criminal behind the mask is, the game allows you to take a crack at guessing who it is based upon the evidence you've collected. For El Muncho, I think it's the butler. I'm of course wrong. It turns out it's the sheriff.
So the sheriff wanted the oil?
You bet he did. He dressed up the old Day of the Dead mascot in an attempt to scare Costington away.
After the case is solved, you can hang around El Muncho and talk with the locals, or beat up more stuff and get more masks. I do not bother, however. I go back to the swamp, I take the peppers to Lila, avoiding whatever the big thing in the swamp is. She gives Shag and Scoob the magnifying glass and tells them that they have to go to Howling Peak for the next ingredient.
Head to Howling Peaks. I will contact you as before. Take this, it will aid you. Now go.
Shag and Scoob return to the clubhouse not knowing how to convince the gang to go to Howling Peak. But as it would turn out, and conveniently, Daphne gets a letter from her cousin Anna. You remember her from the last game, right? If not, here's a clip.
What are you doing back there?
Certainly not playing with ourselves if that's what you think. The gang goes to Howling Peak, and as they get there, they run into a really big foot. I mean, really, look at this thing. Bigfoot picks them up and throws them for fudge sakes. That's ridiculous.
Hey guys!
This level is by far the longest in the game, and it's certainly the most fun. You get special winter costumes to wear, which aren't worn in the cutscenes for some reason, and you get to harass a guy who is trapped in a porta potty.
I bet you're just standing there listening, aren't you? You lazy good-for-nothings. Help!
The story for this level is that there is a Yeti who is scaring everyone off the mountain, causing the business to crumble since no skiers now go there due to threat of Yeti. It's a fun level. There's a lot of searching cabins and taking photos of evidence, or searching abandoned buildings in the snow. There's really something about horror in snowy places and in the Wild West that just seems to work. It's a lot of fun. It's really interesting, you know? At one point you use the magnifying glass to find trails of footprints left behind by people or animals you need to find. The first time you use it is in the chalet, and you have to find Sergio, who is hiding in the cellar of a cabin. You have to get stuff for him, like socks, tissues, and soup, before he'll give you a key to the radio tower so you can call the lumber yard for help. It's fun making the soup.
Alright, man, let's eat this. I mean, make this pumpkin and broccoli soup.
Without going into too much detail about this level, it's pretty fun. You run into an Australian tracker who is hunting the Yeti. At one point, you have to save him from an ice cave. There's also this snowboarder named Moose who owns the local snowboard shop. He's one of the few people who still hangs around despite the Yeti. In the end, the person who is responsible for chasing everyone away is Moose.
You wanted to scare everyone off the mountain, so you could have the place to yourself.
I could have boarded in peace if it weren't for you meddling dudes and dudettes.
Well, I'm sure you'll find a sense of peace when you help fix the damage you've done.
Wait, what? Isn't he going to go to jail? This guy is a criminal. He chased people away and destroyed private property and threw you and your van across a mountain range. He needs to go to jail, not get a slap on the wrist. What the fuck is wrong with these people? And now that I think about it, his motivation doesn't really make any sense. He wants to chase people off the mountain so that he can have the mountain to himself to snowboard, but he has a store there. If no one's on the mountain, then no one's gonna go to his store and buy his stuff. Chasing them off the mountain would be detrimental to him. This makes no sense whatsoever. So it's at this point that Velma figures out that Shaggy and Scooby are up to something, and therefore they spill the beans. Thusly, the gang want to go meet Lila, so they all go into the swamp together. By the way, did I mention Felipe the frog? No? Well, there's a frog in the game with a mustache and a French accent that you can sometimes catch, and he'll talk to you. Sometimes telling you jokes, and sometimes giving you hints. But it's mostly jokes that he tells you.
What kind of street does a ghost like the best? A dead end.
I have no idea why this frog is in the game. It is so damn random, but I like it. So the gang go into the woods and meet Lila and learn some unsettling secrets.
Jinkies! Our phone number is written on this pinup board. There are photos of us too.
Shaggy and Scoob give Lila the ingredients from Howling Peak, which were these giant mushrooms. They go into the stew and bam, everyone is attacked by a giant alligator. Shaggy and Scooby fight the alligator in a fight that is pretty well designed. Again, if I were a kid, I would have a hard time with this, and to be honest, I did die a couple of times fighting this boss. It was a good fight though. In the end, the alligator turned out to be Lila's pet, and she couldn't leave the swamp because she had to take care of it. That's why she needed to get Shaggy and Scooby to do it for her. Now that the stew is complete, Lila can leave the swamp. I'm not sure what the correlation there is, but that's what it is.
So, like, does that mean we don't get any food?
Now Shaggy and Scooby are rewarded with a food collecting mini game, and then after that, the whole game is over. Scooby-Doo and the Spooky Swamp is a pretty fun game. I liked it a lot. I originally poo-pooed First Frights and Spooky Swamp, but they ended up being my two favorites out of the lot, especially Spooky Swamp. I originally poo-pooed them because of the graphical styling. Like, they look kind of like, I don't know, some kid's game based on a new Scooby show. Whatever. Don't judge a book by its cover, I guess, is the lesson there. The only real complaint I have about Spooky Swamp is that the game is really too short. When I got to the end, I thought most assuredly there would be another mystery to solve, but unfortunately, there wasn't. This game really needed one more mystery to make it feel like a full game. Getting to the ending so soon, it only took me about 4 hours. Really, it just snuck right up on me, and I was very disappointed and very surprised when it ended. This is a really good game, and I highly recommend it for the avid Scooby-Doo fan. Hey, I hope you enjoyed all these Halloween videos for this year. I enjoyed making them and sharing them with you. Please feel free to do all the like and subscribe stuff to help the channel with the algorithm. And I would like to thank Douglas Newell, my one and only patron. Alright everybody, take care and good night.